Hello again, FA Nation. Justin Fensterman back with you, and it's Fantasy Football Stock Watch time. Let's talk about players that are trending up and down when it comes to their fantasy football production potential as we head into the final week of the NFL regular season, Week 18. Let's get after it. First, for a few players trending up, let's start with Jerick McKinnon. His stock continues to rise, and his pass-catching ability has resulted in 5 straight weeks of scoring touchdowns. He's received 6 or more targets in 4 of his last 6 contests. In Week 17, he was a top 3 target for Patrick Mahomes for the 3rd time in his last 4 matchups. Isaiah Pacheco will still be prioritized when it comes to rushing, and McKinnon gets an inconsistent amount of carries in the Chiefs' offense. The Chiefs face the Raiders in Week 18, and Las Vegas has allowed the most receiving yards to running backs this year and multiple touchdown receptions. McKinnon once again should be plenty busy when it comes to his production and has posted more than 50 receiving yards in 3 of his last 4 battles. Also on the rise, DJ Moore. We can't ignore what Moore has been doing over his last few weeks. He's hit the end zone in 3 straight weeks and in 4 of his last 5 games. Moore has caught no fewer than 5 passes in all 3 games during that span. Sam Darnold has made better decisions under center when throwing the ball, and he's not throwing into traffic as much. The target volume is there for Moore, and he owns a target share exceeding 25% in this Panthers offense. New Orleans is up next for Carolina, and they aren't the easiest secondary to beat even with Marshawn Lattimore back, but we saw A.J. Brown catch 4 passes for 97 yards, and Devontae Smith post a line of 9 catches for 115 yards with Gardner Minshew slinging the rock. Final riser, Richie James. James has a target share of 28% or more in 3 of his last 4 games with an 81% catch rate this season. He's Daniel Jones' prioritized pass catcher over the last few games. He has 7 or more targets in 3 of his last 4 contests and has scored touchdowns in 4 of his last 7 games. The Eagles are a contender with a strong defense, but let's not forget, back in Week 14, James caught 7 passes for 61 yards against them and did indeed hit the end zone. He has 7 or more grabs in 3 of his last 4 matchups. We'll have to see if Jalen Hurts plays, but Philadelphia put a hurting on the Giants in Week 14, forcing them to throw, and the Giants will likely have to throw again for a good amount of this contest. Now for players trending down, let's start with Aaron Rodgers. Rodgers has thrown multiple touchdown passes in 4 straight games and completed more than 63% of his passes in just 1 of his 4 games, and after seeing him not produce against a soft Vikings secondary, even with the run working for the Packers, he's hard to trust in your fantasy football finals. Is Detroit a potential get-right spot for Rodgers? Absolutely, but teams have been able to run on Detroit over the last few weeks, and the Packers will opt to go with the run for as much as they can in this game. Since Rodgers became a starter in the league, he's thrown for the lowest amount of yards per game this season, and he's thrown double-digit interceptions for the first time in over a decade. Also trending down, Zonovan Bam Knight. He's rushing for 3.8 yards per carry this year, and Week 13 seems like a distant memory when he rushed for 90 yards against Minnesota. He hasn't hit the end zone nor produced in general in weeks. The Jets' offense is simply stagnant at this point, and Knight has failed to receive more than 8 carries in both of his last 2 matchups. Michael Carter has actually outsnapped Knight in 3 of their last 4 games. Ty Johnson was on the field more than Knight in Week 17, making Knight a hard player to trust in your fantasy football championships. The Jets are opting to go with 3 running backs in rotation, and Knight doesn't get a lot of work in the Jets' passing attack. Final faller, David Njoku. Deshaun Watson has made Njoku an untrustworthy option in fantasy football. Njoku has been targeted 8 times combined over his last 2 games, and we can't even blame the crazy win from Week 16 in the Browns-Saints game because he still was targeted 5 times in that one. Njoku has caught 3 passes in his last 2 weeks combined, and even though we just saw Mark Andrews produce against the Steelers, Watson's accuracy issues make Njoku a very risky start. Watson has completed fewer than 57% of his passes, and he's thrown 28 times or fewer in 3 of the 5 games he's played in this year. He just threw 18 passes against the Commanders. Njoku will be in a constant battle for targets against Donovan Peoples-Jones.